morning. All right, the first thing we're going to talk about is the N146 pump voltage map, which is what controls, of course, the pump voltage in the tune. With the maps that I use, with the tunes that I use, I have larger tables, which are 20 by 16. So I have two different pump voltage maps within Windows. Of course, you'll see this is zeros spaced all over the place. You'll see that the numbers go up incrementally, but then eventually they go back down, which is an indication that won't work here. So we go to the stock table. We have RPM on one side, we have IQ up on top, and then we have pump voltage. This pump voltage is on a factor. That means that when you kind of go into properties, you need to make sure that the factor is correct. If you don't have the factor correct, then what's going to happen is as you put this number higher, your pump is going to go into limp mode. With some versions of VAD GDC Suite, you'll actually see that when you export this to Excel, that these pump numbers don't line up because it automatically brings it back down by 1.22, 1.27. So we talked in the last video, maybe the video before that, about expanding these axes, right? So for example, I have this axis all the way up to 75 milligrams per stroke. If I wanted to fill this in nice and smooth, I can go here, go to Fill, Series, and click OK. Now you'll see I have a bunch of different decimals, so we can just delete those decimals. Now it's nice and smooth. Same thing with pump voltages. We can do this, and it will do the exact same thing. It'll scale up based on the number that's before, all the way across, and you can keep on doing it over. It's probably going to be identical because the numbers look the same. So yeah, do it this way. Is this right? I don't know. Does it work? I don't know. Technically yes, but that's up to you to figure out. So you can do that, smooth everything out, make sure that it's nice and clean looking, and that the map isn't all jaggedy, and yeah, go ahead and send it. Alright, so let's see what we've mixed. We know what launch control is, we know what inverse driver switch is, we know what driver switch is. Start IQ, I can't remember if I talked about it or not. Start IQ is just when you're starting the engine, how much IQ you're giving it down low to get the engine to start based on temperature. Make those adjustments if you need to. EGR switch, we know what that is. That's turning on the EGR controls inside the ECU. If you were to turn that off, which I'm not telling you to do, but if you were, you're gonna have to go in and watch the other video where I showed how to delete codes inside the ECU so they don't turn on or off. So you'll have to do that for the EGR switch. Turbo control. This is if you want the turbo to be controlled by the ECU, i.e. you have an N75 that works an actuator that works the VNT or VGT mechanism on the turbo. If you do not want, if you want to use a wastegated turbo, you're going to turn this off, right? So we'll turn that off, excuse me, yeah, turn it off, and then you're going to have to go and make the adjustment. Alright, so right now we're set up for wastegate control. That's still being said, the N75 code will still be present if you don't leave it plugged in. Again, go back to the video that I did showing you how to delete the codes inside the ECU. Do the same thing. I don't believe this is necessary, but if we want, we can change this to 8,000 as well. Alright, so the suggestion that I have is get yourself a Bentley manual and print out the DTC list. So the DTC list will tell you the list of DTCs that you could expect to see inside of your ECU. So for example, if because I run a push-button glow plug system, I need to delete all the glow plug codes that are inside my ECU. So having this list is pretty nice because, again, we'll see 17054 is the glow plug module control circuit. And then we can see if there's a 5.5 and a 5.6 and a 5.7 and a 5.8, 5.9, excuse me, 6.8. The 5.9 is technically glow plug number 5. And then 60 is glow plug number 6. You'll find that in the ALH ECU that's automatically disabled. Alright, so one of the last things I think we'll talk about in the video series are the IQ limiters. So the limiters are the maximum IQ that you can put within the ECU that the ECU will recognize. If you only put 30, then the ECU is going to see 30. If you put 100, then the ECU is capable of seeing up to 100. And this is somewhat common sense. So in the stock, we have 51, and that's fine. If we look at the original tables run up to 38 or 36 milligrams per stroke. But now we're running larger injectors. Maybe we're running an 11 millimeter pump, which really doesn't matter. But let's say we're running 11 millimeter pump. We'll change our pump voltages. What most people do that I've seen, including Mr. Stevenson, is you change this to whatever you think the theoretical limit could possibly be. So again, if it wanted to be 150, you change all of these to 150, and it allows the ECU to see 150 up to 150 milligrams per stroke. So we change all these things. If you don't change these things and you call for 80 milligrams per stroke, you're not going to see 80 milligrams per stroke. So we're all at, this one isn't necessary, but we'll do it anyways. So we're all at 151 milligrams per stroke. And if we go to a table that calls for, let's go with inverse, we can change this now to 150. Will it see it? Probably not. This is a huge jump, absolutely. So I would, make the adjustments necessary to do that. But yeah, so I think for the most part, this is everything that needs to be covered. The majority of everything can be found online. In conclusion, hopefully this helps. Don't do anything I told you to do because, again, you can damage things. Do some research in addition to what I just did. And hopefully this helps. Best of luck in your swaps.
Tuning.